27-year-old developer, Ernest Delle Donne, is the grandson of an Italian immigrant who started a grocery store on DuPont Street in Wilmington in 1908. Now, when one corporate plaza is completed in late 1980s, he'll have more than $1 million in real estate holdings. In our continuing series examining the changing face of Wilmington, we're going to meet this young developer who typifies a new breed of Delaware developers. Along with him is Jim Tevebaugh. He's an architect and vice president with Richardson Associates. Gentlemen, welcome to Focus Delaware.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Now, Ernie, I'd like to find out a little bit about you, Ernie. You know, you were just graduating college in about 7 years ago, or 5 years ago, where you were at Columbia University, and you'd gotten accepted to a few medical schools. This was after you graduated from Tower Hill, where you were an athlete and played quite a few sports there and at Columbia. But somewhere along the way, you got lost. You didn't ended up going to medical school. What happened?
Well, Bob, when it came to decision-making time as to going to med school, I sat down with my father and with my then fiancée, Joan Delle Donne, and tried to decide where we were going to go with my life. And I decided that the motives for going to med school were all the wrong ones. They were more out of trying to prove to people that I could do something other than fall into my father's business. And therefore, after realizing that I could do something in real estate that would not be just continuing my father's business, I decided to go ahead and go with real estate and not pursue the medical career.
So your heart always was with becoming a developer and doing something on your own?
Yes, Dad had been involved in real estate for over 35 years here in the Wilmington area. And even while I was in New York, I had gotten interested in real estate and began pursuing real estate while I was in college. So.
Did you fear that people might think, well, he made it because of his dad's money? And if so, how do you address those critics?
Well, I think you face that no matter what you go into if your father has been in that profession, and whether it be law like yourself or whatever. And I did fear that, and it was a large part of my going into medicine and trying to pursue that so that I could show people I'm going to med school, I've made med school, and I'm doing it with no external help whatsoever.
So therefore, although you may have had some front money and a name from your father, no one's going to, you may have had an opportunity, no one's going to give it to you after that. You've got to make it on your own.
Well, that's the truth. I mean, Dad's given me an awful lot of help, and without his help and financial backing and expertise that he's given me over the years, I could not be where I am today. But it does take a lot of hard work to get where you're going, especially in this business. Well,
let's take a look at some of that hard work is done. You've got one project that is very visible now to anyone driving down Delaware Avenue, the new complex that's going up at what's the exact address? 802 Delaware Avenue.
Delaware Avenue.
And that's where Chase Manhattan Bank will be.
Right.
It's been appraised now at a $40 million project when it's completed in late 1986.
Should be ready by the spring of '86. That's right.
How did this plan come to be? I understand that you were able to take the project and put it there where other bidders with a lot more money and experience wanted to place it down on the Christina River, as well as the city of Wilmington wanting to place that bank down on the Christina River.
Well, it was the city's desire to create a critical mass down at the Christiana waterfront, as well as the Christina Gateway, to bring the 1,000 new jobs that Chase would be incorporating to that area.
Yes.
When the final analysis was in, however, it was Chase's decision that the site itself more or less sold the project. That when you compare the 802 Delaware Avenue site with its being on I-95, and I don't know if you're familiar, but as you drive down 95, you will actually see it rise out of I-95, combined with the neighborhood that is a viable neighborhood as of today, and it's not a future type neighborhood, it already is. I think that combined with the ability to bring the identical financing that the city was in fact offering helped land the project at that site.
Is the city prematurely pushing development of the Christina Gateway to the detriment of maybe taking a look at more development along the Wilmington Western Gateway first, in your opinion?
Well, I think the city's attempts are noble, and I do think that the Gateway has its place. And my opinion of the Gateway is an urban alternative to the suburbs for office space,
You're talking about the Christina Gateway now.
The Christina Gateway, as well as the waterfront to a large extent. But I think that it does present a viable alternative to getting office users into the city of Wilmington and maintaining a certain amount of jobs in the city, as well as expanding the labor force. And I think rather than saying that one's competing with the other, there are two different uses altogether. The 802 Western Gateway, so to speak, is one of a much higher type image, higher corporate polish, so to speak, whereas the Gateway will lend itself to lower density development, as well as different usages. Rather than the corporate headquarters, for instance, I think you'll find, such as Beneficial's Credit Card Operations Center, that type of computer facility.
So you don't think that Beneficial's project was a poor use of the land by not being a high-rise project at that location?
No, I think the land and the location more or less dictated the use itself. And I think that there's enough development in the city to go around so that there really is not this antagonistic relationship between city developing Gateway versus developers with their individual properties.
I'm going to turn to your architect now, Jim Tevebaugh, for a little more elucidation on the attributes and characteristics of this project, Chase Manhattan Bank, that's now going up at 802 Delaware Avenue. Jim, could you comment on it?
I think probably the first thing that people are going to be impressed with as they see the Chase building is the fact that it's somewhat reminiscent of the city skyline itself. If you see the roof configuration, for instance, on the building, we've deliberately designed the building so that it has a little more interest to it, the rooftop itself. This particular design has gone through an evolution where we've had the opportunity both to work with Ernie as the owner of the building, but yet behind him is Chase, the user of the building. So we have two kinds of criteria that we need to design it. What's happened during the months that we've worked on the design is that the quality of the building has really improved. Initially, we had proposed what would have to be seen as a relatively straightforward, a good building, but it did not have quite the same image or corporate identity that a user such as Chase would require. Now, some of the ways we've changed that have been the use of all glass on the skin of the building. You can see in this rendering that one of the things that I think is going to be very delightful about this building is that the glass itself is a silver, it's almost like mirror glass. It will reflect the color of the atmosphere, the color of the sunset. So what we're hoping, what we're pretty sure is going to happen, is that during the daytime, during atmospheric changes, during twilight hours, the color of the building will change. The color of the building will actually be reflecting the color of the sky. On a gray day, it's going to look a little gray. On a red sunset evening, the building is going to have a little glow to it. So it should be a very striking building on Wilmington's horizon. The particular location adjacent to I-95, we've seen it on several occasions. The building will be very, very strikingly visible from nearly 2 miles on each side of Wilmington as you're coming up and down I-95. We also have a feeling that there is going to be another nice spin-off benefit as far as the public goes, in that we are anticipating that Chase Manhattan will actually provide some custom design artwork in the building itself. At this point in time, we don't really know where that artwork will be installed. We have a good feeling that there will be a major piece, a commission piece of work done in the lobby. The lobby will be visible from the Delaware Avenue sidewalk. We have the glass at the lobby level will allow pedestrians or motorists to actually look in through the lobby of the building through the glass. Whatever that piece of artwork, whether it's a tapestry or a sculpture, will be very prominently visible inside. And then we also think that there will be possibly a piece of sculpture out on the sidewalk itself.
Let's turn to another project now that you and Ernie are working on together. One Corporate Plaza, right down the street. It's an office complex going up next to the 800 Delaware Avenue building. Can you tell us briefly something about the attributes of this project?
This building is a little different. One of the things we're trying to accomplish here is that realizing the importance of Delaware Avenue as sort of an emerging gateway. If we look at the development potential there, that obviously means that there are going to be more pedestrians, more daytime activity than we currently see. I think we have a feeling, it's really an obligation that as we design these buildings, as Ernie continues to develop that Delaware Avenue side, suddenly we have a need for producing some more public spaces, plazas, opening up the sidewalk itself. This rendering indicates a very preliminary sketch of the building, but one of the things we hope to accomplish there is to provide some sort of a major park plaza. The city has already started a park development program up and down Delaware Avenue, and we would hope to be a continuation of that effort with landscaping, sculpture, possibly a fountain feature, something that all of the users and occupants of those buildings are going to enjoy.
Delaware Avenue, as you enter the city of Wilmington from 95, is going to be impressive. I can see that now. Ernie, moving a little bit away from that particular neighborhood, you've purchased the old Department of Labor building at 801 West Street.
Yes.
Now, tell me briefly about the plans to develop that office complex.
The 801 West Street building is a 33,000 square foot previously vacant building. And what we have managed to do is go ahead and renovate the entire building over the past 2 months and put a tenant in there for the entire 33,000 square feet. Long term, we have already begun assembling over 68,000 square feet of land surrounding the building, so that over the next 2 to 3 years we will develop more office space in conjunction with it, as well as upgrade that entire block.
That's 801 West Street area.
That's right.
And there's a lot of development taking place around there also.
That is correct. That is correct. We will also be developing the 813 West Street building, where Barry personnel will be putting their new offices. And we also have plans for a new high-rise to go in there within the next 5 years when the timing is correct.
You've been quoted as saying your good fortune comes from your connections with your father, as well as connections with hiring good people. I mentioned two of them, Elliot Galinkoff, the architect of the city's economic renaissance, as he's been called, and John Greer, a recently retired vice president for Hercules, who was in charge of the construction of the $80 million Hercules Plaza at 13th and Market. Comment briefly about the importance of these two gentlemen in your organization, please.
I often kid about Elliot Galinkoff as being my most valuable possession and asset of the company, and in no small way is that incorrect. A year ago, when he was leaving the city and it was apparent that the new administration would be taking office, I was looking for someone who could expand my capabilities and my knowledge of the city of Wilmington. And I feel today that there's no one better suited for that job than Elliot Galinkoff. Likewise, in the field of construction and for the building of office buildings such as Hercules, or albeit the Chase building, John Greer gives the company a certain amount of expertise in the construction industry, which is invaluable to me.
Now, very briefly, how did you put together the deal that put Mitchell Associates, Inc., the Wilmington interior design and space planning firm, along the Christina waterfront with 100% financing? Joining them will be Michael Carbonell and the Delaware Theater Company, who will be our next guests on the show later on tonight. How did you put
Very
that
briefly, it was basically no more than listening to Lou Rosenberg and Thorpe Meckel from the respective companies and listening to what their exact needs were. They had spoken previously with about 7 or 8 of the Wilmington developers, and I more or less just asked them, where do you want to be? They gave me their location. We structured the deal, and through our company's knowledge of the city of Wilmington and the administration's cooperation, we were able to structure a deal which will satisfy their space needs in Wilmington and keep them here.
Well, I think that'll be a good lead-in for when we come back. Peggy will be talking to Lou Rosenberg and Thorpe Meckel, so you will want to stay with us as we take a look at now the waterfront development along Christina. Stay with us, please.